Call to order.
A little bit harder than that.
I'm going to bring in a piece of wood. I feel like I'm going to call to order. It's not the same. Okay, so attendance is first item.
Commissioner Elton,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Here.
Commissioner Winburn,
Here. All right, next is acceptance of our October 29th meeting. A motion to accept the minutes.
Motion.
Second.
Commissioner Elton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn,
Yes. Do I still read that paragraph about public participation? No. Okay. Well, next on the agenda is public participation. So if there's anybody in the audience who wants to speak, you can speak now. Or if it's related to any of the agenda items, old or new business, just let me know and I can have you speak then. Yes.
I didn't expect to be the first item. My name's Catherine Perkins. I'm quite interested in planting seeds and moving along with the idea that the city should take trees into account not only when ownership changes hands, but also new construction. That we can't get rid of heat islands without the city making a role model of good planting. And I just want to plant that seed. Thank you.
Great, thank you. If there's no one else from the public, or no comments from commissioners on the public comment, next is the commissioner report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first item, only item that I have, at least on my agenda, is an update on Newton Hill at Elm Park. So we are going to work with UMass Amherst landscape program to do a redesign of that Newton Hill at Elm Park corner there, from sort of basketball court all the way to the building. So it will include the tennis courts, it will include the basketball courts, it will include all the pathways, will include additional or the planting of trees. And so I've been in contact with them. They are ready to go, but they'll start in March. It's a six-week program. It's a very sort of intensive time frame for everybody, for the students and for us. But we've done this before at a property called 149 West Boylston Drive. It's a parcel that's right off of 190 that we ended up having cleared, and then we mow it once a year. And then we have a master plan for it for future improvements to it, but we haven't funded those improvements as of yet. And the program worked really well. It was a good way to get students at UMass Amherst and their educational background for design on the landscape side, some connection on that. And so we're going to use that program, since we don't have any money at this point funded for anything in that area. Thought it was a good way to try to get some assistance using the students to move things forward, and then at least we can do that from March through May, and then we can finalize it probably, maybe by June. If not by June, we'll, beginning of September or whatever, but it would at least give us some ideas of maybe putting in a little bit of money to begin that discussion of what do we want to see, what does it look like, because the more I've looked at that and more I've talked to both my maintenance staff and our forestry operations staff, we're probably not in the best case scenario here to go in and just, start replanting trees. One, because all those tennis courts need to be renovated. They haven't been renovated in over 30-plus years. The basketball court needs to be renovated. The electrical needs to be upgraded. The light fixtures all need to be upgraded. So there's a lot of work around that area. And to go in and just plant trees, I don't think it does a disservice to both the community as well as everybody else in that fashion. So this way we can go in, we're going to give them pretty much a blank slate. The only two things that they cannot move is the war memorial at the corner and the little blocks, the granite blocks that are sort of around that edge there, and the building. The rest of it, we can manipulate, we can move around, we can redesign, and so we can go into the hill a little bit further if we need to or we want to. So we're going to give them some, those are your 2 points that you can't touch, but the rest of it is sort of up for discussion because even the walkways are a little beat up and need to be replaced as well. So that's the plan. We'll start looking at scheduling meetings where we'll get public input probably as we go into the end of January, beginning of February. Based on the last time we did this, they started the design work on this after spring break. So their spring break is like the 15th to the 21st or something along those lines, that third week. So we're going to have them start right after that third week, and then this is a studio for them. So this is their junior studio. So we're going to have them do that and move forward with that. So I still have some pieces that I got to work out and finalize, but that's the plan for that area. Then we'll have a document that we can then move forward with, look for funding, and decide how we're going to make some decisions on that portion of Newton Hill. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to take any.
Do any of the commissioners have questions?
No, it sounds like a great plan. I'm familiar with that program, and I think they'll do an awesome job.
Yeah, last time you can go online and take a look at the program. So it's called 149 West Boston Drive. They came up with six projects, six different designs. So there's 4 or 5 students in a group. So it's like, and so they each group came up with their own design. They did their own presentation. We gave them some ground rules of not so much what they could use. We did a little bit of that, but we have our own specifications that we're going to use for fencing or for that. But all they really needed to do was sort of identify where certain things were going to be, and then we would use our standard products for implementation. So they came up with 6 designs, and then we used Beals and Thomas, and we're going to use Beals and Thomas again. Dave LaPointe is a graduate from that program at UMass, as is one of our other project managers here in Worcester. And we're going to take that and take those, whatever number we're going to get, and we're going to bring it down to one design. So we'll look to take the best. And what we did the last time was have a public hearing on it. We gave people stickers. They were able to go up, put something that you like, something that you don't like, or whatever else, and then we sort of like married that whole thing together the best we could based on what was there. We'll put some guidelines on them based on topography. We'll put some guidelines on them for anything else, infrastructure that's already in place. We don't have any sewer or water lines or anything else. There's no floodplain there. So, there's enough flexibility in that to be able to really think through that. And then we'll see what the public wants to see and have them go to work and bring out some color drawings and go from there.
A single workshop?
So no, we'll probably envision probably 3 in total.
Okay.
So the students need to present anyway. The logistics of trying to get them here twice can be problematic, because they're in Amherst,
Yeah.
right? And coming to Worcester, not that it's a long drive, but
They're children.
yeah. So I got to work through that. So what we did the first time was we held the public meeting and then had worked with them. So the professor came, she took notes, and we had some of the kids show up for that first meeting. And then they brought back that information on, sort of basically what would people want to see. And then we worked with them over the 6 weeks, and then towards the end, they came back, and that's when they all came to Worcester, and we did a presentation. So each group came up, presented what they were looking to do, took any questions, and then everybody marked it in regards to what they liked, what they didn't like, and we did it that way. And then we ended up taking all of that and then narrowing it down to one final design that went to the Parks Commission for approval. One of the things I talked to Brian about was the component to look at tree planting. And when they do that look at tree planting, trying to look at size of tree, species of tree, and trying to diversify both size and species so that we're not going in and planting 50, monoculture, one single piece all at the same time, because that's what we're dealing with now.
Right.
So maybe there's a way where we make some decisions, or we do tree planting in a couple of phases, right? So we go in initially and do that, and then phase in, all right, in 3 years or 5 years or whatever, we'll plant here, and then we'll do this, and we'll sort of spread that out a little bit on that end. So
And
that's
maybe both.
What?
And maybe both.
And maybe both, right. And so that will be part of the discussion that we'll have, and we'll have with the students, and I would hope that at least a couple of you would be able to attend that meeting, so that we can see that, and we'll follow through on that end of it.
Yes. To that point, as soon as we could get dates, so we could get it on our calendars and start spreading the word
Yep.
through networks
Yeah.
to get as much of the public
My
there.
my guess based on schedule is that we won't know until after they come back to school in January,
Yeah,
would be my guess.
that makes sense.
Because there'll be a new semester, they're gonna have to work through what the kids' schedules are, or the students' schedules are, and all of that. That's the way it happened the last time, but I can, we can try to see what we can figure out on that. Or at least put in some tentative dates in there, and then confirm them afterwards.
Yeah, maybe Professor might have some idea.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
Great. If that is all of the commissioners' report, we're on to old business, which first agenda item is request for discussion of setting goals for the commission, which is something we keep there as kind of a catch-all. So if there's anything folks want to discuss, I think we have a lot on our agenda today. So I would motion that we keep that in old business.
I'm wondering if we should file it, because I think we're on a roll with, our agenda. We know what we're working on for the next foreseeable future. I'm totally open to keeping it on the table, but I'm also suggesting that, maybe we don't need it there.
Yeah. I don't mind leaving it there in case something doesn't get put on the agenda accidentally. We otherwise cannot speak on things.
All right,
but that-
seconded.
Yeah. Okay. So I need a second motion to keep that in old business.
Seconded.
Second,
Commissioner
Second.
Arthur,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn,
Yes. Next on the agenda is updates on Newton Hill. which were just given, so I motion that we file that one, if I'm
Second.
saying that right.
Second,
Commissioner Elton,
yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn,
Yes.
Madam Chair, we're gonna need to file the report, my item.
Oh, yes, I forgot that. In the commissioner report, we have to motion to file update on Newton Hill at Elm Park.
Seconded.
Commissioner Elton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes. All right, next in old business is a discussion of the best management plan and reviews, which at this point, I believe Rob now has all of our edits. And I would just open the floor to discuss them. I know that like some of them were just typos, but I know while I was reading through it, there was also some interesting like future thinking kind of edits and comments. So I'll open the floor to other commissioners first. If there's anything you want to comment on in regards to best management plans draft from May of 2025.
I just wanted to remind you folks, I gave Rob a hard copy of the edits that I suggested that are messily written on the, just to make it easier for you. So he's got it.
And in our agenda, Rob put I believe the first one's just the regular draft. And then the second one, I didn't find any edits there. The second one is Robin's edits. And I have provided mine in person, and I believe you have yours today. So I can just, one of the goals you have is for us to vote as a commission to approve this draft, right?
Correct, ideally.
Yeah. And is that something, we should see like an updated draft and approve that one? How should we go about doing this?
So ideally, I would prefer that we can go through any structural changes. So the standard stuff like periods and spelling and all of that are easily made, and we can just, say with those changes. If there's a structural change to it, we'd want to discuss that now. And then ideally approve it with those structural changes. And then I can bring it back to you in January to make sure that I didn't misunderstand something, would be ideal.
Okay, so pretty similar to the forest master plan is we'll go through and make motions to change things.
Correct.
If they're structural, not typos.
Yeah, typos
Well,
and that
yeah.
are just, don't need that.
When would we see those though? Because mine are just typos. It's like botanical names, like correcting botanical names. I would want to see that to make sure they were done correctly.
Well, my
Before
plan,
you would, I guess that's a question, is before voting to approve it, you would like to see the changes
I would be
made.
happy to approve the structure, but like, would you have those corrections in January so that
Yes.
we can make sure that they make it into
Yep.
the final version?
Yep.
Okay, I'm
yeah, they
satisfied.
would be, so the plan would be is to approve it tonight with those changes, and then I will bring it back to you to make sure that
They
you know,
make it.
maybe I flipped a letter or I did something that's not in there. So that's what I would like to do, if at all possible, if you're willing to do that.
And I guess that's the question, is I have no structural, like overarching structural, it was more comments of information I think would be valuable to put in there. Was mainly what I focused on, because I know Robin caught a lot of the typos, so I didn't go into those as much. And I had a lot of ideas for future draft versions of this in the future, and thinking about the tree ordinance update.
Wouldn't
But that's
that
not relevant
be
to.
considered structural though, because it would be additional writing.
Good point.
Yeah, I would consider that structural.
Structural.
And mine was
I'd-
not,
I was thinking structural as organization. Like I would not change any sections or add new sections, or it was more like sentences of like explain this was my comment.
some of my suggestions were like images that, like, some of the imagery was
I would call that structural, yeah.
great, but there were places where like images of proper tree staking. Sorry, gum kind of fell out of my mouth. An image of what a root flare is. Like where there was great imagery, like just a couple editions would have, like there were other spaces where images similar to what I'm saying were, and I think there could have been some additions that would have made it just a little bit more
So,
thorough and detailed.
If that's what we want to do, then what I'd like to do then is approve it, if you're willing, with an addendum to follow that will make those added pieces put into it. So it'd be, this is a 1.1, and then we're going to go to a 1.2 as an update or whatever that may be. I don't think we, yeah, there's nothing on here that tells me we did. But we would just do it in that fashion and then update it, because, again, these are documents that we can update, you know, as we need to or as something changes as well, right? They're not something that's final and we can never touch them again. So I envision these as being something that we can move forward with suggested changes.
At what point would they get distributed to other people, though? Would we have the changes before it starts being disseminated?
Yeah, we can do that, yes.
And just out of curiosity, like, why would you want to get it approved today
So my
specifically?
plan was to use it as part of our Tree City USA application for 2025.
Huh?
That was the goal when I submitted these back in May. And so that was the purpose of what we were trying to get accomplished, is to approve it with knowing that we're going to make changes to it as we move along, but to be able to do that so that we could include it in Tree City USA as a completed action item, and on the growth award side as well. So,
When is the
Okay,
application?
right now,
would like to speak?
it's due on the 1st of January, 1st of December, 1st of January, sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm already building that right now. So like the application side is easy, the growth award ends up being a little bit more work. So that was my hope. If it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work, and I gotta figure something else out, but I think we can do this and then approve it and then go back with modifications to it at any point in time that we choose to, with some of the other additions or whatever else that the commission wants as well. Some of the things in here, well, at least for some of Commissioner Johnson's items, are more, some of them are more policy related than like BMP related, right?
Yep.
So they would reflect, it would be more of a policy that the commission wants to put forward than what would you put in there. We maybe reference the policy in the document, but not, not stated in the document, because it's more, the BMP is used as a management practice, and you
Can-
reference those things. So,
Can I speak to that?
Joe, give me 1 second. The only other
Absolutely.
one in here that is of concern, that's concerned on my end of it, is the bare root trees. Major concern, at least on our end of it, planting in some of the neighborhoods that we plant in, and, we've had history on bare root. Planting in someone's yard and someone's, somewhere else is usually pretty good, but we've had a lot of hard luck with bare root trees because they're so easily removed and destroyed, and you're wasting that resource. Now, it's not that a 2.5-inch caliber tree is, can't get knocked over or pulled out or whatever, but there's a lot more work involved than someone walking by and just pulling it out of the ground because there's no girth to the tree itself. And again, even that one, I think it could be more of a policy where we can develop it into more of a policy to say, in these certain circumstances, a bare root tree would meet the requirement, but within the right of way, it's very difficult to do that kind of planting. And we've seen that, we've tried to do that planting on Inglewood Ave. We've done it in another neighborhood, and, 3/4 of those trees were gone within, the first 3 months. So that's one of the ones that sort of came out
Sticks
on
out.
my end of it. But why don't we have Commissioner Johnson speak, and then we can work back from there.
Okay. Since I'm coming late to the game on these things, I was just finishing my review, and I think it's perfectly okay to okay the structure to meet your deadline, as long as the motion includes that we can reopen this for further discussion as time comes along. My question is, so you were working from the document that I said Worcester Tree BMP manual comparison to Massachusetts industry best practices?
Yes.
Was that what you're looking at? Okay. Yeah, the smaller caliber tree is not something I really wanted to stand on, but I found that it's an answer sometimes to the issue of the canopy not all being the same age and size. But I really understand what you're saying about the vulnerability of those trees. From what I read, that in some cities in the practice, the exact reason they wanted the small caliber and bare roots to be allowed was in cases where we wanted to maybe set it so that we had several sizes of canopy coming up at the same time. That's all that was for. But that's stuff we can talk about in more detail as people get to look at this and I get even more familiar with the documents. So I'm willing to move forward. I'm not making a motion right now, but that's the end of my comments.
So thank you for those comments, Joe. I would motion that we vote to approve it and that we announce any major changes that you feel strongly about making sure in a draft, if you want them written in our minutes. But I agree with Joe that we should vote to approve it dependent upon an updated draft occurring in the new year. Does that sound good?
To be very honest, Madam Chair, you don't even need, you can just approve it. We'll bring it back with any changes, because we're gonna need to
Yeah.
do that anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that sound good to everybody?
I'm satisfied.
Okay. So a motion to approve the best management plan.
Seconded.
Commissioner Alton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes.
And then what I will do now is if there's anything you want to speak on, let's do that now. And then we'll make the required changes to it. The other piece, what we'll want to do for the next meeting as well, is come up with any additional BMPs that you feel may be beneficial. If there are anything based on your review of this one. So because we're looking to move on to other ones as well, developing new ones. So if there's anything on your end of it that the commission feels should be necessary for that, let's do that.
Okay.
I didn't notice any details on roots being exposed. And maybe I overlooked it because it's pretty detailed, but are there, whether it's sidewalks or for other construction, roots being exposed for an hour, for a day, for 6 months. New York City has some, I don't know that they adhere to them, but they've got some pretty decent requirements for what they expect if roots are going to be exposed. And it's I think if it's like more than 24 hours, they want burlap that's wet and to be re-wetted every once in a while. I forget what it is. So their Parks Department has that detail. And, just in my experience, if you don't have anything you know, your colleagues at the city ask you to go look at roots in a sidewalk, and you show up and you're like, well, how long have these roots been exposed? And they're, oh, a long time. And that's not great. So I think if it's not in there, maybe some details on what the, you know, there's a lot of details on protecting trees for construction, and I think if it's not in there, that should be one of them.
Any other comments on the best management plan? I remember it being talked about, your point, but I'm trying to find where and to what extent. But I do remember.
Yeah, and that's what, sometimes I'm in so many communities, I can't remember if I'm talking about it here, or if I'm talking about it somewhere else. That's what, like, did I share it with, I couldn't remember if I shared New York City stuff with this group or
So
somewhere else.
in section 2,
I think it's page.
there's a discussion in section 2 that talks about tree preservation and protection, best management practice. Talks about the physical damage to tree trunks, branches, roots, etc. by equipment, soil compaction, degrades the functionality of roots, soil composition, microclimate stuff.
I don't think it was there.
I don't know, that's one.
I think also section 1.3, tree planting. That might be the place to add more details.
1.3.
Yeah, because you're talking about when trees are planted and how they're handled and like what the, or no?
Really, construction around trees.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, okay, so,
you know, it's often sidewalk renovations, but it can be a lot of stuff. Any like, you know, maybe it, you know, there was a section talking about how to excavate with hand tools or pneumatic devices. That was another question I had. It said hydraulic devices. I wasn't sure exactly. It said hand tools, hydraulic devices, and pneumatic. And I know pneumatic means air spade, but I wasn't sure which I put a note about examples because I wasn't sure what hydraulic devices were approved for excavating around roots.
Yeah, so if you go to page 15 on this, tree and site assessment, tree protection plan, talks a little bit about site assessment base layer, tree inventory data. Bless you.
Thank you.
The TPZ fencing in those areas around the tree. A maintenance plan with proposed activities to improve conditions before, during, after construction. Any mitigation.
Is it in section nursery stock and procurement standards where bare root is mentioned, it's bald and burlap?
Yeah, it's almost like with the surface protection, like the soil compaction area where you're talking about putting wood chips down, because I feel like that's one of the solutions for.
Right. And then if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna have to drive over it or drive close to it, putting down either wood or others. And then there's on page 17, there's a tree protection zone on there, lists some of those things as well.
Yeah, so this is like, the soil's been removed, and the project has to come to a stop, either, you know, something needs to be inspected or discussed, or the job's, you know, the day's over and they're coming back on Monday, and how the roots are protected in the meantime. Just creating some details on what people should do.
Did you say you had an example of it?
New York
New York
City
City?
parks, yeah,
Okay.
I can,
On these points, are the two of you, for your points and AJ for his, are you planning to draft the language to give to them? Or are you asking them to draft their own language?
I can share an example. Let me see where I have it.
Yeah, I think right now that we've like approved it, the focus is on big changes that we want to discuss and implement in the new year in an updated version. So I would, if commissioners want to draft that text, that's one option, but we can also provide Rob and et al. with examples of like, go to this section of New York City's best management plan and insert similar language. And so I can take some notes on what some of those major ones are, which this one is in regards to protection of roots during development.
I mean, I think the ideal, the way it's been built out on this is that you're not impacting them because you have your TPZ around the tree, but you're gonna be close to it anyway when you're in a sidewalk area or in a tree where the sidewalk's right next to that tree and you're gonna disrupt that area. What do you do to protect it during that time frame where you can't put that area completely around? So that's, I think, more in line on there.
Yeah, so this is New York City Parks Tree Protection Best Practices and Protocol, number 14. If roots are to be exposed for a period greater than 48 hours, the exposed area shall be covered with at least 6 inches of mulch and maintained moist during the course of construction until the area can be properly backfilled. Photos are to be taken periodically and reported to the forestry inspector by a landscape contractor or certified arborist. And that's just like New York City GovParks.org, trees, street tree planting, best practices is the website.
Now, are you guys making corrections and additions and changes yourselves, or did you hire an outside company to write this document?
So this was written by Davy Resource Group. So it will be a combination of the two of us. So if I can do some of it, I'll do some of it. If we're doing other major changes or adding in items, then we'd have to use Davy for that.
Okay.
Any other major changes to suggest to be added to the?
A point of information, the 6 recommendations I made in what I submitted, we'll be looking at them again in the future, so that we don't have to discuss them further tonight. I just want to make sure everybody's looked at them so that they get some consideration, rather than take the time to go through them point by point tonight.
So through the chair, I think some of it is just wording, like adding in a, either current, the word current with some of those, or, adding in a little bit more documentation on that. So I don't
Yes.
see, like on those things, we'll just do those. We'll add
Oh,
those in
okay.
there, because all it does is strengthen and modifies it so that we can't have somebody go back to 1920, ANSI standards, right? I mean, not that
Right.
it was there then, but, so you just say current standards, and current to everybody would be today's,
Mhm.
the 10th of December, 2025, so whatever is current today would be that standard. So there'll be some wording pieces. So I've taken a lot of that piece of it with wording. Again, number 6, 6 is more of a policy item, and the bare root piece, if we want to set a policy for that, that could be a separate piece to the policy, but not really part of that piece, so.
Okay, sure. That's just fine with me, thank you. Through the chair.
My main 2 comments with thinking about bigger changes is, one, keeping in mind that one of our goals with redoing the tree ordinance is to be able to point to this document to be the driving force of like what is the best available science and data telling us about best management practices for urban trees, instead of it being like directly written into a tree ordinance. So I was reading this with that in mind, of like what are the sort of things as we develop an updated tree ordinance we would need to make sure is in this document. The only one that really came to mind is like, as I was questioning that, as I was reading, was thinking about some of the tables for tree species lists, because I imagine this is a document that when developers are developing a property, they're looking at this to pick out like what tree, or am I wrong about that? So explicitly Appendix 2A, where it's a table ranking tree species tolerance to development impacts. Is that, one, I was questioning if like it includes all of the current species and genera or family. I noticed it's like a variable way of approaching it. And like future ones that we would consider planting in the city, given climate change.
We could add language too, to say that the city has a tree species recommended list.
Yeah, and point to it, here, yeah.
Norway maple's on that list. Do we want that?
No.
Yeah.
Through the chair. I went over the tree species list spreadsheet, and I used a little automation to append the 2070 climate predictions for each of the trees as far as any zone changes or changes to the way it fits into the urban canopy. I haven't uploaded that change to this, I don't think I uploaded that change to the spreadsheet yet, but I would appreciate it if it could be looked at between now and the next meeting.
I have comments about our tree species list. I'll wait till we get to that on the agenda. But
Okay.
in reference to
Fine.
Joe's comment, I greatly expanded the tree species list that I had started there, Joe.
Oh, okay.
I'll take a look at what you added and see if I can,
If you like that, or you have any suggestions, I can rerun that analysis on any list that you give me, so.
Great.
Yeah, we'll work through the, whatever you post up.
okay.
So on that, then maybe what we need to do is reference the tree species list as a separate item, right? That we change as we choose to, and not put it in the BMP.
Or put it in the BMP as an appendix, but we update it. So instead
Right,
of.
you could do it either way, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because my understanding is like developers would be having access to this
Correct.
document, being for, like, the enforcement to use it, so.
So maybe so what we would do on a yearly basis would be, this would be the place that we would, once we have our list built, that would be this would be the location that we just go in and update it. right? And then and then every year we're looking at it and we're updating the date on that for, for January 2026, January 2027, January 2028. And it would be a fall project for the commission to review and to see if there's any changes to it. So we do that a lot on our side, on the park side, on our Park and Recreation Commission and Hope Cemetery Commission, where policies, fees, all of those items are regularly updated, and we do that in the fall so that it sort of fits the calendar year cycle, because that's what most people understand. People don't understand our fiscal year cycle because we start in July and go to June, and that messes people all up, because for them, that's like in the middle of the year, right? That's month 6. So what we'll do is we'll plan on that as a fall project each year to do any updates that we're gonna do, and then now we can do an emergency update if we need to, but in general, it would be a fall update that would then take place. We would update all of the documents as of January 1st.
That sounds good. There was one other, I'm like scrolling through, and it's in my comments that I've handed in, but just thinking about other things we can update and modify. I can't find it now, but there's another table that's like a tree species list recommendation for potted plants, and that's another area where I feel like we could probably update it, put more natives and things like that.
Yeah.
But any other comments on the best management plan? There is a question comment from the public.
Hi, Evelyn Hurwitz, District 1. I was just looking and skimming through the plan draft. I'm wondering, in the pruning section, unless I missed it, is there anything on like an ongoing schedule for pruning? Like, for example, each year a third of the trees in the city get pruned so that over the course of 3 years they're all attended to. Is that something that's been considered or discussed?
It has been considered, but there's nothing in the document that states that. And to be very honest, at this point in time, with the resources that we currently have, it's not going to happen. There is no way with the staffing that we have to be able to make that happen as of right now. And we've broached the subject about doing contracted work for that, but we haven't gone down that road to see what that would look like, at least at this point. Our major focus has more been on planting and then doing trimming on a needed basis based on requests. And even with that, we can't keep up with just the requests for trimming, let alone to do a cyclical process for that at this time.
I'm just wondering through the chair, is it worth having some way of expressing that in the plan, that this would be a goal, but, it requires more resources as a way to put it out on the table for those making budget decisions, that this is actually, if we're investing all this money and effort into planting trees in order to actually maintain them, we need to, as a city, think of this as a budget priority. I'm just putting that out there.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, isn't it, I believe the subject is broached in the master plan as
It is.
as a goal.
It is a goal.
I think there is language that outlines, I forget what the increment is, but is it 3 years or?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But we did talk about that in the master plan, yes. So there is reference to that in that area.
Something to think about. Thank you.
I can't direct you, Evelyn, to the page. It's, okay.
Through the chair, point of information. Am I recognized?
Yes.
When we put something into the BMP, does it force that to happen? Or can we put something in the BMP even if the labor for it isn't budgeted? why would we leave it out of the BMP just because it's not budgeted? That's my question.
So through the chair, it's more of a policy item than I view it as more of a policy item than an item that goes into the BMP side of it, is my personal opinion. So if you want to if you would like to make that a policy, then we can talk about that and then have to understand how that gets funded. But in the end, the council is the one that makes the final decision on what is going to be funded. This commission does not have that authority on that side of it, but you can make that argument to say, this is what we would like to do on that.
So when it goes, through the chair, so that when it goes to the council, it would already be recognized as a best management practice. This is why I was thinking that it might be best to put it in the BMP anyway, even though it's not likely to be funded.
I guess it's a matter of how you define practice, right? It's not practice if it's not policies. Maybe Rob's point is like, we
Okay.
only want to put in the BMP what we can enforce and make happen.
What if the
Alright.
scope was narrowed, where cycle pruning could be funded on primary routes in between the highways and the hospitals and the fire stations and ambulances, and that was the starting point, where whatever, every 5 years, all the trees that are the primary routes get pruned, and see how that goes, see what that costs.
So we do work with National Grid on a lot of that kind of stuff where they have power lines that are along the right of way, but as you know, most of Worcester from downtown in sort of going out, whatever that distance is, a mile, mile and a half, or 2 miles, or whatever that is all underground or back of yard. So we do work with National Grid on those areas that are out there, and National Grid will come in and do that, and it doesn't cost us anything on that end of it. You can go down that road. The problem is that currently, we're not gonna get to it, because what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the resource that we currently use to address neighborhood concerns, resident concerns, and you're gonna take that and deviate that from what we're currently doing, which is, and we can't keep up with, which is taking care of that side of it to moving it to another piece. Yes, could you go out and look to do a contract and bid that and award that and identify funding for that? Yeah, you could go down that road, but I can't go bid and award something unless I have funding for it, or at least some bit of funding for it. So we'd have to sort of think through how that would work and operationally, how that would happen. But you could take small areas of the city and say, okay, we want to do this area, and try to figure that out. There's a lot of legwork there on that end of it. And we're still chasing ourselves around trying to just get to the people who call in and want something done. Trying to get them to, trying to satisfy that side of it. And I don't really want to go down a road where I'm pushing them off any further than I already have to, because we've made a decision to go down another road and we're taking resources away to not be able to do the stuff that they're looking for. But I'm willing to look at that and see, are there other avenues that we can sort of identify? Maybe there's a grant round, maybe there's another resource that would help us to be able to try to accomplish that. And maybe we can look at that on that end of it, and I'll be more than happy to sort of take that and start thinking through that process on that end of it.
So let's be reminded that the BMP will be a living document that we can readdress these issues.
Right, you may be able to, down the road, if we can figure something out, say, as long as this budgetary item is in here, maybe you make a change. Or maybe it's just a policy and you update that policy to say, we're gonna dedicate X amount of money for that, but we need to secure that first before we can start saying how we're gonna spend it. Because I Because right now, I don't, you know, we're chasing, you know, between planting and removals, we're chasing those still with backlogs on both, right? With people who want trees planted, as well as, even though we got to most of the trees this past summer, but that list has already grown on the planting side, and then the removal side is another whole item. So I would say this, let us sort of go through this a little bit more, and, you know, maybe we can come back to you in the spring with some ideas of maybe how maybe we can identify something and work towards something, but additional resources will be needed for, you know, for that work, no matter what we do here. And remember, right now, we're still short 3 people that I can't find qualified candidates to be able to fill tree climber and arborist positions. As we sit here right now, we've gone through 5 rounds, Brian, of requests, interviews, and we haven't been able to find a single person in 5 rounds, and that's been 4 years.
We're not filling a position if you're not qualified. That position won't get filled.
I think we've talked about this. We've talked about that where we're looking, you know, if we can find an arborist, I can train them how to drive a truck. But it's very difficult to find a truck driver and train them to be an arborist. Right? And so, you know, we're looking at other options here, but that's sort of the world we're in. And so even with that, we're like I said, we're still short 3 people.
I was looking through the pruning section, and there isn't a section that addresses scheduling and thinking through where that should go. My suggestion would be to, under 4.1 tree pruning practices, which opens the section, to have a sentence that just says what the best management practice is right now for scheduling pruning activities. Which, from the sounds of it, it's reactionary, so it's like pruning that is going to cause damage to property or people is kind of like the scheduling approach. But anyways, that's where I would suggest is to put some language so that is what the current best management practice is with the resources available. But it is a really good point. I do not think like pointing out things we need belongs, this is not the place for it, it's the master plan. But the master plan also happens on a slow schedule, so I made a note of a good idea to make a commissioner newsletter once a year. I've seen other commissioners. I'm looking at Rob to be like, good idea, right? Does Parks have this? But I've seen, what is it,
You're
Green
more than welcome
Worcester?
to develop that
Yeah.
newsletter
Yeah,
and
I can do
bring
that.
it to us.
Yeah, so
Because
I think that's where we
you have
put it.
access to some students that would be able to generate that.
Yeah, I also feel like we generate it while we're here. I'll just type it up. But like a yearly document that we could share with the public, share with the city, that is the commissioner's annual report, basically. The commission's annual report of these are what we identify as the big issues that the city of Worcester is dealing with its urban forest currently. Because I think in the master plan we said we'd update it at every 5 years. Is that right? Because it's a big enough lift. So, all right. In the new year, going to put that on my commission goals list for the new year as our annual newsletter to start in January of 2026. Okay. But this has been a really great discussion. Is there any other best management plan points we should bring up as to suggest to Rob to consider in an updated draft? In which case, I will motion to, moving back to the agenda.
We've already moved on, so you can go to your next item, which is the city ordinance one.
Yeah, we don't have to motion
We've
to,
already motioned to approve it.
oh,
And I'm gonna bring back the revised document.
okay, that got the agenda item
Yep,
taken care of.
that takes care of
I
it.
did not realize that.
And then we'll bring back the new item, the new stuff and everything else as we progress into the winter. We'll
Cool.
get those and make sure everything's correct.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to bring this up at this point in the agenda, but I am realizing, do we have future dates beyond today?
They're on the agenda.
They're on the left-hand side.
Where did I? Okay. Oh, missed it. Thanks. All right.
So we
I
can
was looking
talk
for
about those at
bottom.
the end.
Thanks.
Make
Okay.
sure and let me know.
Appreciate that. All right, next on old business, review of city ordinances. Which previous meeting, we had homework to do a little more digging and thinking about that. And just a reminder to the commission and others listening, that our goal with our research on so a little background is we've been doing a lot of research on city ordinances, what has been done elsewhere, and trying to understand what would be good to put into a Worcester updated version, with the goal to make moves to update that ordinance in the new year. So yeah, open the floor to other commissioners. And just also a reminder is our Google Drive doc. We have a folder called Tree Ordinances. Within that is our notes and drafts, which I'll bring up. I think we can talk about it here, the policy memo that Joe shared, and that's in our agenda. Notes, I believe this is the right spot. Just want to make sure I'm not messing that up.
You're talking about the,
Oh, nope, I'm messing it up. That's actually under
New
new
business.
business. Okay, cool. Never mind. But I just noticed it in our tree ordinance folder. But under that notes and drafts, there's both our notes that we had from last spring, where we started to kind of compile ideas, where I would encourage people to look. And then also there's one called drafts, where I've taken our current ordinance in its current language and put it in a Google Doc so that we can make explicit suggested text.
Yeah, I was wondering, I was looking at that document today, and I was just wondering that, if you're gonna add, if anyone is gonna add text to that draft, can we just make it really obvious that it's added text by putting the text in like red, for example?
so
Well,
my recommendation, and what we've done with other commissions, is everybody gets their own color. Tag.
Okay.
And so everybody would put in, you don't delete anything. If you're looking to remove something, you change the color of the text to your color and put a strike through it, or
Or a note.
a note that says remove, and do it that way. That you can do tracking, but tracking sometimes gets a little difficult and you're all over the place.
Right.
So we found, at least on our end and with the other two commissions, the easiest way to do that is everybody picks their own color, and you use that color for your suggested changes. Everything stays on the document until such time as something gets approved, and then we clear it at that point. Now that becomes the new wording to a section or an item or whatever it may be. It's really worked well with my other two commissions.
That sounds great to me. That's exactly what I would have suggested.
So so just for the record, we, on the city side, we will take on green, because it is forestry and it is green and we are parks. So everybody else has to choose on whatever other color they like, but we're gonna take green.
I would suggest that we write into the document a key of who is who also.
on it. All right, I'm pink. I'm just gonna call that while we're calling colors.
I'm blue.
Okay, I'll take orange for Johnson.
I don't know.
Take red.
No, I got pink. I think you should go purple.
Yeah, I agree,
Purple's
AJ.
yeah,
Sure.
purple magenta. You get to decide. And that's all of us. Okay, so it's in the document, so I wanted to bring everybody's attention to that. But opening the other one, which is notes, we have a huge table of ideas that we've come up with. And which do we want to discuss tonight? What are some of the ideas that we think we should suggest in an updated tree ordinance?
So,
What are
Madam
good
Chair,
ideas or bad ideas?
my recommendation would be to come up with the list today for, with minor discussion about each of them. And then we put them on the agenda for discussion so that the public has the ability to
Yes.
know what those are. Even though we're talking about the ordinance as a whole, I think to be clearer and more transparent with the public, I think by doing it that way, then the public has that opportunity to understand what we're talking about, and then they can ask questions on, well, why do you think this, or whatever else. So that would be my recommendation
Great,
on.
thank you for that
process.
recommendation. I think that's a great recommendation to just make sure that this table is all of the issues that we want to discuss at our January 8th meeting. I can read them out. First one, significant trees replacement cost is the first issue. Current tree ordinance has no significant tree language, only addressing and replacement costs being comprised of by the DBH. Ideas for changes, but I'll just read the main issues and
Can I,
see if anybody wants to add to it.
yeah, can I just, I would just like to see us define a significant tree, because there are different definitions from the different cities
Yeah,
that I've read. And I'd like us to discuss whether or not we want to add a significant tree ordinance for private property with the goal of protecting large, significant trees. And I feel like the replacement cost would be a secondary issue after that goal.
okay, I'll add that. I kind of separated it out as replacement cost ratio of 1-to-1 of DBH as the current tree ordinance language, to address that with a higher ratio for replacement of large trees. So they're interconnected.
Okay.
But yeah, that's one theme, is significant replacement costs. The next is tree fund, creating a tree fund for replacement costs. Fees, discounts, incentives, manuals, and commission were like kind of the major topics. So perhaps if people don't want to talk about any of the like topics to add, we could offline before January 8th do a little bit of homework of updating this, and then I can send it to Rob before our meeting to have in the agenda notes for that meeting.
And what I would say is, if you're gonna do that, so particularly to the question on definition, if you can have it's not all of you, right? Because you can't debate a definition in private, right? So, but if one of you wants to come up with the definition, and we can put that on the agenda or as an attachment to the agenda, then we can talk about it, and then you can discuss it, and then you can modify it in session. Because we just need to be careful, right, about communication amongst everybody outside of this room
Yeah.
during our meetings. So my recommendation would be if you have a recommendation or you want to do something, let's get it in writing, get it into the agenda, and then we'll discuss it in this meeting. But at least we have a starting point, right? We have a starting point to make some decisions on that, would be the best way to move forward with that.
Yeah. So update the table, but there's no discussions allowed within the document. Is, yeah. Do you feel like there's anything to discuss? Are other commissioners able to access the table that I'm referencing?
Yes.
Is there anything you want to discuss, or does it sound good to have homework assignments of like, send me by January 1st, or like, update the document, you don't have to send it to me. But update the document does January 1st sound good? And then we can make sure to have it to Rob in time for that
And then
meeting.
if there's anything new, if there's something new that you think of right now, now's a good time to be able to put it on that list. And then someone needs to we need to assign, whoever's gonna take that piece on, we just need to know, make sure that we're gonna get something out of this on that back end.
So are you asking, so before January 1st, are we, I can't get to it from here right now, but it's
Okay.
a fairly long list, so should we prioritize like
like a
the
page.
first couple things that we're gonna talk about for the next meeting?
Yeah, we could do that too. I've somewhat, I prioritized it in, I don't know, the way I thought. But yeah, we could prioritize it. Currently, it's significant trees replacement cost as a theme and topic of how to address and some of the issues. So there's a couple different rows for that. Replacement cost is next, tree fund, fees, discounts, incentives, manual, and commission are like the topics. And I would say that's like a good priority list, but do you want to see that changed?
Well, I'm just wondering, like, in the document, can we, I need to think about it, and would we be breaking open meeting law if we wrote in the document Robin's priority, AJ's priority?
What I would say is we should do that to the commission. So if we're gonna do that, it should come to our email account.
Okay.
Go to the Forestry Worcester Trees at worcesterma.gov. It's our forestry email account. It's on your agenda.
Oh, okay, okay.
And use that in the caption, only send it to that account. And in the caption, just put, ordinance or priority review items. And then what we'll do on our end, and then we'll take that all and sort of say, okay, well, 3 people wanted this, 1 person wanted that, and then we'll sort of put that together in a fashion, and then I'll ship it back out and just say, this is what it's gonna be, and this is what's gonna be on the agenda.
That sounds good.
Because it gets very dicey on the public side, because we wanna be as transparent as possible. And it is much easier just to do it internally, but I don't wanna go down that. I really wanna be careful for all of us on that sake and sort of build it through us and then back out. And by doing it that way, I can say, well, this is what we're gonna talk about, or this is the list that came up. So the more people that identify an item, the more, that gets rated higher than something that only gets 1. And then I need to know from the commission how many items you want.
That was my next question.
Top 5?
Yeah.
Is it the top 10? Like, we should decide that tonight, so that because we're all here, we're all talking about it, decide how many items you want me to do, and then you give me your top, say, 10 items, right, if you want 5. And then I can play around with it, and see where everything falls.
I'm thinking about the length of our meetings, and I'm suggesting 2 per meeting, 2 items to discuss per meeting.
So your top 5 would be my thought, right? So you would list them 1 through 5 as your top 5 items.
And you'll put 2 on
And
the
then
agenda.
I will go in and, basically all I'm gonna do is take the math and say how many items for 1 and 2, and then the lowest number is the first item, and the second lowest number is the second item. And then everything else goes away. I'll put those on the agenda, and then we'll redo it again as we sort of move along through this process.
An exercise in ranked choice voting.
Yes. Only on the, making it the least amount of points. So, not the most, but the least.
Sure.
All right, so a little bit of homework for our next meeting. Just to kind of summarize that. Our next meeting will focus on tree ordinances. Before the meeting, I will update notes, the Google Doc that's called notes_tree ordinances, so that it's in a format that Rob can use in the agenda notes. That will be communicating to the public and the commission our research that we've done that's informed our discussion and suggestions, so filling out this table. So homework assignment number 1. And then assignment number 2 is in that table to rank your topics of what, the order that we should start tackling these different topics in our commission meetings next year. and to email Rob and I those so that we can compile them and use them to set out our agendas.
Madam Chair, what I would also recommend, what we'll do also is we'll take the entire list and we'll put it as an agenda item so that the public understands that
This is,
here are the two we're talking about tonight, but the rest of this is there as well, just so that it's out there, so that if we jump to something else on there, it's not a surprise to anybody, or we pull something into we pull it into something that we're talking, we pull in a one that's further down and pull it into what we're talking about, because we, as a group, feel that it's connected in some way. It's there, so it's nothing new, we're not surprising anybody, that kind of thing.
great.
So, Madam Chair, you and I need to talk like pretty quickly after the first of the year.
Yeah, we do. To make sure we're both happy with that document. So I'll put it on my calendar for the 5th.
Morning. If we go with the current schedule, I need to post that by the 4th. Oh, no,
Our
wait,
next meeting's the 8th of
8th,
January?
right. So the 2nd is a Friday, 3rd, 4th, 5th is a Monday, 8th would be a Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh, because there's a holiday.
Right.
The 7th is a holiday of some sort. I don't know what it is. What?
Wait, January
We're not celebrating that
7th is a holiday?
Yeah, there's something on the list as a holiday or something. I don't know. I have a whole list of holidays that I gotta work around, so.
Okay, so,
So we would have to do it by Tuesday.
yeah, the 6th.
Yes.
So if it's on my 5th, yeah, okay.
good, you and I can connect.
Yep, sounds good. Going back to the agenda. Sounds like a great discussion on city ordinances. We got a great plan. Anything else to discuss? Otherwise, I would motion that we, keep that in old business.
Seconded.
Commissioner Elton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes. Next on old business is to finalize the tree species list, with the goal to submit it to the planning department. And yeah, I'll let AJ take it away. He has some updates.
I have a format to share. I don't know how.
I don't believe this is in our agenda notes, right? It didn't make it in there?
No.
Okay, so we'll put that on our agenda. But we
Madam Chair, you can
talk
discuss
about-
this.
Okay, yeah,
So you can discuss the format that you're looking at, and then we can, we can put it into the agenda
Here's,
item for the next meeting or whatever.
so is this the current Rhode Island one that you would recommend?
This is what Green Infrastructure Center is working on for different Rhode Island communities. Right now, this is the hypothetical Quahog, Rhode Island. So just working on format right now, but could be adapted for whatever species or could be adapted whatever format works for Worcester.
So my comment on the format, I'm open to anything in the future, but as a working document right now, I have almost finished a tree species list that we could get to planning ASAP. I can be done with this by the end of next week. I have a window of time. The updated version is in the folder, so you can see it. I'm still adding trees. If there's anything you want to add, I can still do that. Just as a sample, if you want to pass this to them, I know you guys can see it on your computers, but just pass it down. I'll give you that one. This would be an example of what it looks like. It's very simple, it's very easy, it's geared towards the planning department and any contractors, but of course Forestry could use it, it's appropriate for your,
Do you have
project
copies,
with-
or should I? Yeah.
you know, the University of Massachusetts for the Newton Hill project. It's not comprehensive, like I said, I'm still adding trees, but These are all trees that I personally have experience with, because they're all in our tree collection for the organization that I work for, but of course, you know, it's not limited to that for whatever I add. I'm looking at your documents that you posted from various cities and still adding trees, but what I like about it is it's very basic, there's no graphics, so we don't have to spend time doing any graphics, although I like the way your document looks, and we could work towards that in the future. But this is very basic info for what the planning department would need. It's the height, it's the width, it's what the tree is good for. Is it native, is it not native? There are no prohibited trees on this list, but I would add a prohibited section so that, you know, specifically contractors aren't choosing prohibited trees. But what I like about this is it's not just limited to the species name. So, you know, somebody wants a red maple, but they don't have the big enough landscape for a red maple. I have cultivars listed of multiple sizes that they can choose from, and it's all stuff that's readily available in trade. And I don't submit this to compete with your format, AJ. I just want to finish something.
If you
and-
like if you like the species, I could put it into that format, like, by next week or
Yeah.
by the next
We
meeting,
also,
for
Okay.
sure.
I recall our prior conversations also being like two different lists. One that's like comprehensive, like the one you've put together, that's like everything. But then a tailored list that's like for planning department to give to developers to be like, this is what we want you to plant. So that they don't just like pick the cheapest tree on the list. And,
Yeah, I mean,
and not plant things that are like needed in that part of the city, or like based on like what the kind of demographics of the community of trees are there.
I
So-
don't think that this list is going to be too long for them to handle. You know, and one of the
Well,
things.
it's less for them to handle and more of they are likely to pick the cheapest tree and we'll just keep having honey locusts everywhere.
What I hope that they
So,
do,
call.
what I hope that they do is, I know that they're looking at cost, but what I hope is that they'll look at size equal to cost. And that was what I worked really hard on putting here. And we could even highlight that comment, that column, maybe to draw their attention to it. Because there's a lot of small trees that I'm putting on here, and narrow trees. And I'm hoping that grabs their attention for, you know, instead of just cost. And I am, like I said, I am trying to put things that are very easy to get in trade, so that that's the tree that they come to when they're looking for.
Any comments
Through the chair.
on our two tree lists?
Yeah,
Yes.
so through the
Thank you,
chair,
commissioners, by
it
the way.
really, either way works for us on our end of it. But the one thing about that, I think what we can do is, once you have the list, the comprehensive list put together, we would look to make that part of what planning does, right? In deciding how they want to implement that and use that to their advantage when they're doing this kind of thing. It may be a discussion where, you know, one of you goes to the planning board, if they take this up at some point and say, well, these are the reasons why we want to go down, what our thoughts are on it. They can have some comments. We can have Michelle Smith come back in, or, you know, we can have a conversation with her regarding that as well. And because in the end, they're the ones that are going to have to enforce it, right? It's not going to be this commission. It's going to be planning's the one that's going to need to enforce all of that. So we can work with them to give them the guidance and our expertise, and then have them figure out how best to implement. So for me, I think the best list is the most list, is the biggest list, and then we can start peeling it back from there if we need to. And we may choose down the road to say, okay, you know, maybe every fall you're changing some species on that list, and we're restructuring that list because, you know, 8 developers decided they were all gonna plant the same tree, right? And now all of a sudden we're like, okay, well, you know what, we don't need any more of that. Let's take that off the list and put something else on, or whatever.
Yeah, maybe based
Sure.
on what's in your inventory.
Right. Right, so we're not getting over that number
Yeah,
of, percentage-wise.
yeah.
And try to keep it so that we're, a real diversity of species that are out there, so.
Awesome.
Well, I would ask that the other commissioners email me specific cultivars or species that you would like to see on the list if you don't see it already on there. And I'll call it finished by the end of next week.
All right.
That sounds good. And then I have it on my list to make sure updated version of this in like a PDF format will be available on our next agenda notes. And we can further discuss. And I have it as an additional note that like next year, we should, as Rob just mentioned, reach out to planning and either have them come here or go to one of the planning commission meetings to discuss kind of the implementation and next step of really lovely tree lists. Thank you for both of your efforts.
So my question, AJ, you said you can take this list and put it into that format.
Mm-hmm.
And then what about,
So we could,
Joe had a contribution, he was doing like a, Joe, could you remind me, could you tell me what what you did with the document with,
From the species list, the Latin word, I just ran an analysis that added what the future brings. So 2070 for climate goals, where it changes zones and other information. I don't know enough about what you're doing with the 2 species list to really complicate things with that yet. So I believe I did push one up into the copy of what I did up into the notes, but I'm not sure today whether I got to complete that or not. So I'm going to back off of this on the species list and defer to the 2 that are going on now, and I will add to those. And I think I can leave it there. I don't think we need all that sort of information on the species list. I think it's too much complication by second thought now. Did I make any sense? Yeah.
Joe, I'm looking at the species list that you created. What, were you using the U.S. Forest Service tree atlas to generate the the projected like success or lack of success in future climates?
No, I was using AI.
Okay, which was maybe using that. I can put it on my task to update it based on the tree atlas.
Well, I can do it by AI based on solely the tree atlas if you want. I don't think we need to spend that much.
But I do think it's valuable.
I can box it to that reference and then, but we could do it individually by single lookups if you want.
But yeah, I propose, Robin, you finish finalizing it, and we can add a column that can speak to kind of like if this is a climate winner, kind of highlight that and add ones. I think it would be valuable to have the list you mentioned of like do not plant, and then like a future wish list of things that like we should be planting based on climate change projections that are like not currently
Sure.
thought about in this
Right.
region. Maybe
American
for
Forests has a
future.
list like that.
Yeah.
What is it, American
I've seen a
Forest?
couple of them. Yeah.
That's a website?
It's a non-profit, but it is a website also. Yes.
Okay.
It's on my other computer. I can email it to you.
How difficult would it be to transition this to this?
Is that,
According to
yeah.
AJ, easy.
Yeah,
If I had to pick one, I pick, yeah.
Nothing
it's pretty.
against this one, but I think from a presentation standpoint, this is cleaner.
Sure.
Right to the point, very clean. I just don't know how much work that is to translate or transition all of this.
my coworker tells me it's really simple, but
Oh, we don't definitely know. online version of this, I didn't have room to print it, also includes a column with a link for more information that somebody can click on, you know, for example, to Missouri Botanic Garden, or, you know, you can click to find out more about the tree if you're interested. I don't know if that can make it onto a document like yours, AJ.
She has, yeah. DEM had us make a list and linked it to stuff, so that could be,
Yeah.
but, yeah,
Maybe we can hybridize the format.
yeah, and so, we're building lists for individual municipalities, and the idea is to have something that they can, curate themselves after the fact. So we're a couple steps away, but it should be something that we should be able to curate ourselves. That's the objective. But I can't even upload these things to a file, so like.
Well, so my question would be, if AJ is delayed in converting it to that format, would the Excel still be acceptable in the meantime until we, you know?
Well, I'm not saying this has to be done, I just think it's cleaner to present it to a contractor or a neighborhood group, it's
Right.
a lot
Yeah.
cleaner. And the coloring with the trees is fresh, people can look at it.
Sure.
So maybe our goal is to work with I'll call it the Robin tree list, or the Excel tree list, to
And-
talk with planning. But then and that'll give us some time before having like an official share with the public and developers and everybody. Because I'm sure planning will probably have some input too about changes they might wanna see that would be valuable.
I assume so.
Yeah. But yeah, looking at the Excel, it's pretty similar columns. We could add in a few that I think AJ's list has that we don't have in here. But otherwise, looks great. Thank you both. I have a few notes for our next meeting. Also, thank you, Joe, for generating your. I can put it on my homework to add in the climate tolerance information. Okay. Anything else on that agenda item? Any other? Okay. I will motion to file that away, which I think I'm using the wrong term. Motion to file. Okay, I'm not. Since next time we already have city ordinances, and within that discussion is a tree list, so I feel like we can just file this one away.
Seconded?
Commissioner Elton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes. All right, on to new business. We have 2 items. The first, I will hand it off to AJ to talk about beach leaf disease.
Yeah, beach leaf disease. So for a few years, our beaches have been dying, both the native and the European. I spent time at Moore State Park, and they disappeared from the woods a couple years ago. We've got big European ones in our landscape all over the city. It's been pretty concerning for the past couple years. This past spring, Connecticut Extension was at the New England International Society of Arboriculture Conference, and they had some good news that phosphite-based treatments, so potassium phosphite, which is essentially a fertilizer, and bark treatments, so like a trunk, stem. So there are products, Agrifos, Phosphite, Reliant. It's been used a long time as a fungicide, but it's it's a fertilizer, is available to anybody. You don't have to have a pesticide license to buy it, to purchase it, and they're getting great results. It's pretty affordable, relatively affordable. What was happening, and I'm sure is still happening, it was definitely happening last year, and I'm sure it'll be happening in the spring, summer, once the leaves come out, is Arbortech, I believe. I'm sure it says it right here, which is drilling holes into the root flare. Beeches have relatively thin bark, so it's not recommended to do that very many times. It doesn't, those wounds don't seal very well. It's also pretty costly, it's time consuming, where the phosphate treatments, it's the product, I think, mixed with water, and you just spray it on the trunk. So it's pretty quick, relatively harmless to things around. So I say all that to say that there are a lot of beaches in Worcester, and I'm curious what the city's plan is for treating the beaches that they're responsible for. If there's been any thoughts into public education, how to get the word out to people, because I think we know there are big beaches in town, and the cost of removing these beaches is going to be beyond many people. 5, 10 grand. Like, some of these trees are 50 inches in diameter, and if they could buy a product that cost $100 and save these trees, not only like the environmental and in a lot of cases sentimental value that the trees have to folks, the shade that it provides, so the heating and cooling costs to their homes, to the benefits the trees are providing, those add up. So what can we do to get the word out? Yeah.
If the commission is interested, my director of horticulture has been doing a lot of work with various researchers and various companies, trialing different methods to see what has been working and what shows promise. She's been doing a lot of speaking on the subject. She just did like a segment with Channel 5 Meteorology. I could ask her if she's interested in speaking to the commission about some of the latest research that they've been finding. Would anybody be interested?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm always interested in listening to Joanne, but this is Connecticut Extension, so I think she would probably be speaking to some of this research. And I think it's just like getting the word out at this point. Like, how do we get residents to know, and how do we make sure in the spring trees that should be treated are being treated with agrifos or whatever similar product. But if you would like to, if we need people to come, and would having professionals come and speak to the validity of the treatments be worthwhile?
I say yes.
Through the chair, yeah. So if that's of interest, I would recommend that we, find one of the dates and see if we can make something work.
Would you mind inviting her?
Sure.
And so as far as getting the word out to the public, a website, is there, what are, for other things, like when Asian longhorn beetle showed up, I know that was like a bigger deal, and for a lot of reasons that got people's attention. What are the avenues to let people know what's going on?
So usually through the chair, we'll put something up on the forestry side, forestry page, where there's lanternfly or the ALB or whatever it may be. That's the intended process for that. The other option is that the commission, if you are looking to do any of the neighborhood meetings, be a great, I think you get more traction there than you would, just putting it on the website. So I think that would be important on that end of it. I think those are the two mechanisms for the most part that, work the best, on that end of it. So, we can take, I don't know many people are gonna read all of this, just because, but if there's I don't know if there's a quick, like, one-page thing, or front and back kind of thing that that's out there already, that we can put on. I'm more than happy to put this on the website for now, but.
And it does kind of like need to be distilled down just to the phosphite part.
Yeah.
Because the other, like the,
Well, I don't know if Connecticut Extension has a streamlined executive summary kind of thing that we could use, but, we won't make modifications to it, we'll just take it and, put it up there on the city website. We do that with other stuff as well, so be more than happy to do that on that end of it, and then.
Yeah, because some of these other treatments are expensive,
I think that's why I was gonna invite my director of horticulture, because we're actually using a lot of these treatments, so she could speak to cost, and, if we can advertise ahead of time, hopefully some public can tune in and hear a distilled version of on-the-ground results and costs.
Yeah, like the phosphate, so I bought Reliant for $150 off of Amazon, and my neighbor had Arbortech, which I think is thiobendazole-based treatment, and he had Agrifos, which is also Reliant, and Bartlett gives it to you, but both treatments together were $2,000. So if you could buy Reliant and do it yourself, and it's a big jug of it, and you could do it multiple times a season and have it for years, for $200 you could save your tree, or you could pay Bartlett $2,000 to do it for you. So it's exciting that for relatively low cost we can save our beech trees.
Through the chair, we'll want to be careful recommending
Product names.
a product name
Yeah.
or company on that.
Yeah,
We
they've got
may be
this-
able to say that it's just this product, it can be done both by a professional and by a homeowner, and go that route and, sort of get away from the cost component and everything else. We just gotta be
Yeah.
careful.
Like the last thing on here says, product trade names are used for convenience and not to promote a product. Always read the label. The label is the law. So, there's that.
Just another thought on kind of the outreach component of, are there trees in Worcester that are known to be heavily impacted by it? Which I feel like, yes, because it's all.
I would
like
assume
it's
all of them.
Oh, yeah, right. And so the next thought after that was, what are our big beech trees and who owns them? And do they know about this? Like, what are our public ones, and to what extent can we help our public ones? But also, what are the ones on people's properties?
You just walk around.
Yeah.
They're at the Antiquarian Society. They're next door. They're down the street. Yeah, I don't know where they are on city property, but I assume based on how frequently they are on private property that they must be in parks also.
American beaches tend to be more in natural areas like woods. European beaches, with the purple leaves, tend to be what's on private property. One of the well-known European beaches in Worcester is the one outside the funeral home in front of UMass.
Yeah,
It's right on Plantation Street.
yeah, sounds beautiful. But yeah, that was one of my thoughts, is like, it'd be a good idea to reach out to specific owners of very large beech trees that are doing a lot in that area to help protect them. Would be a good strategy. Also, can we get on the City of Worcester's Instagram? Because that's another way to get like a one-pager public, you know. Did anybody else see the vote on your favorite snowplow? I put in my
Yeah.
vote for, anyways. But yeah, can we get on the Instagram for City of Worcester?
So we can, we just need to
Yeah.
come up with what that wording or thing is gonna be.
So
Okay.
I vote.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
Can I mention a few things I looked up in order to contribute to this tonight?
Yeah.
You know, just to give you a little bit of history of Worcester itself, I dug back and looked. So the history in Worcester is in August of 2020, the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation confirmed the beech leaf disease in 3 towns in Massachusetts, and Worcester was one of them. Both American beech and the European beech were affected. Local media reports came out around that time, reporting the disease's arrival, advising residents to watch beech trees for symptoms such as wavy, shriveled leaves and dark stripes between them. And then this, I thought was more interesting, is the City Conservation Commission Climate and Forest Assessment for the Cascades East noted that the American beech, normally a hardy tree, is now unlikely to persist because of BLD. Along the Cascades is an area, a mesic forest that's had heavy losses of the beech leaf disease, with a lot of them already on the ground. And that's what I had. I just wanted to read that in.
Great, thank you, Joe. Well, I say we keep this on our agendas into the new year. Take Robin up on her suggestion. So maybe Robin, you can put it on your homework list to reach out to your contact and see
Yeah.
if they could speak to us at one of our upcoming meetings in 2026.
No guarantees, but I'll invite.
In like Zoom, obviously, if that's like quick pop in, but via Zoom, if that's an option. Thank you, AJ, for bringing this up and putting this on our agenda. If there's no further comments, I motion that we file it.
Second,
Commissioner Alton,
yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes. All right, next on the agenda is to discuss Commissioner Johnson's memo, which I believe is in our agenda notes. But I'll let Joe take it away.
Okay. In reviewing that note section, and some of the articles written about the ordinances and coordination, they were talking about the commonality across urban forestry commissions about not being well connected to the other departments. Multiple cities, Boston, Cambridge, Atlanta, and Providence, adopted cross-board review triggers, joint review teams, and tree impact requirements. Can Worcester follow these models with modest ordinance updates? So this is just what some things that I've mentioned. Can we establish a formal trigger, require the planning board to send applications to the forestry committee when a public shade tree removal is proposed, roadways and sidewalks are constructed or expanded? I don't mean to read through all the points here. Require a tree impact statement from developers with certain triggers. When a tree inventory, a condition report, as listed here. Add a review of streetscapes and public realm designs, such as what I want to bring up some other times, such as the Pleasant Street is going to cause the removal of trees, the movement of guardrails and so on. So that's just an example of review of streetscapes and public realm designs. Appointing a Urban Forestry Tree Commission Planning Board liaison, advisory only, but empowered to raise concerns at planning board meetings. Joint annual report to the city council. I think, and again, I've listed the trigger points for that. Add urban forestry standards to zoning and subdivision regulations. This is just a few things I wanted to think about us looking at. Create a joint technical review team. I know this is a huge reach, composed of our commission, planning, DPW, conservation, and parks, to review large projects pre-application. Require early concept review with the urban forestry staff, having developers consult the tree warden or the forestry commission designee before filing, preventing late-stage conflicts. Integrate the forestry goals into the hazard mitigation plan, which is being developed right now, to tie planning board's decisions directly to canopy-based resiliency goals. Require us to sign off on public tree removal. So those are some things that I really wanted to bring up, and I listed the 12 key recommendations at the end. I don't know if we want to consider all of this tonight, but I would hope that we could take a look through this and think about when and how we might want to discuss any or all of these items. That's what I'm tossing out there.
Great, thanks, Joe, for putting this together. It's a lot of great points to bring up and discuss. Some of these, like looking through them, I'm of two thoughts. One, a lot of this overlaps with like items in the tree ordinance that would have to be changed in order to implement some of the recommendations. So thinking, I would ask all the commissioners to think about that for our next meeting. What of these recommendations are things that require tree ordinance to change in order to be implemented, and do we want to be doing that? And kind of in line with that thinking is like, I'm asking myself, and maybe this is a question for Rob, is of the recommendations we want to see moving forward, what are ones that like are just outside the scope of our commission because we are an advisory commission and not regulatory? So kind of keeping that in mind. But yeah, other comments from other commissioners?
Yeah, I read the document before we came, but I feel like I need more time to think about it. There's some things that I'm interested in here, but there are also things that, I'm definitely not interested in signing off on plans of any kind. Not that I wouldn't do it if that's what we were required to do, but I just want to say that it's difficult enough. This is a volunteer position. We've all got full-time jobs, and it's already difficult enough to get done what we're trying to get done right now. But that's not to say I wouldn't change my mind in the future. But I need time to write something down about each one of these.
Yeah, I just tossed this out for exactly that reason, and that's what I'm hoping for, is that we'll take some time to think about it and touch back on what good about it, what's bad about it, what should be tossed out, and if any of it can be saved and used. That's all I'm concerned about.
And I guess on that point, it's a lot of great points to discuss and think about. And do we want to do that now? I'll point out it's a few minutes till 8. Or do we want to, is there more we want to discuss tonight? Or do we want to motion to file and have it be part of our next meeting?
I just want to say, Joe, good work. Yeah, I think something that my day job we discuss quite a bit in other municipalities is synergy between planning documents and incorporating, trees and stormwater into hazard mitigation plans and comprehensive plans and other planning documents, and something that we haven't really talked about, a little bit, but not too much here. So it's, sort of an outline for, not just the tree commission, but other, comprehensive plan and, that's not a commission, but brings in other people. And so something that could be sort of a guiding memo for not just us, but others over the next, obviously something you could probably look back on every once in a while and revise a little bit and see what's taken place and what, maybe things have changed. But, I think maybe we could have a more vibrant conversation about it at a not so late hour.
Oh, yeah. No, that's all I'm hoping for, is that I got a chance to introduce what I'm thinking about and what I'm bringing here. And as we all discussed with each other, I can get the hang of what's going on here as the newest member.
Yeah, this is great. Thanks for sharing. My suggestion would be for everybody to take a deep dive and think about that, like the recommendations and which ones we'd want to move forward. And one question I have for Rob, though, with some of these recommendations is I like the idea of like the formal review trigger. My understanding is like that's not going to happen without policy changes, but is there like what would need to be done to have more communication between commissions of like us knowing what's going on over in planning and parks, and what could we, and you don't need an answer today. I wanted to bring it up for our next meeting to like think that through.
Yeah, so we're not a regulatory board, right? So we're not we're not gonna be able to regulate those kinds of functions. That's the planning board, and so I think the idea would be is to work with the planning board on what their requirements are and build those pieces into there. Some of this stuff we already do as an administration, coordination between planning and forestry, public works and forestry, transportation, mobility and forestry. So a lot of those things already go through. And there's rights and requirements based on Chapter 87 and your tree ordinance and all of that. So some of that is already built in administratively, and not part of the overall function of the board, of this board. I mean, anybody here, any one of you is more than welcome to go to every planning board meeting and stand up and make comment on, what's there, without even having a policy set forth, right? We can do that as residents, anytime we want to do that. So I think some of this is more along the lines that it's more administrative, and it's really not with this board because you are volunteer, you're not being paid. And number two is that you can't enforce it, but planning can, and planning can require it on their end of it. And so I think that the real goal is to really work with planning on trying to get what their ordinances are and what all that is updated to current standards, and use that mechanism on that side of it, because that's where they're gonna go, and they're gonna have to get approvals, and they're gonna have to do all of those things. And if we have the documents that sort of back planning up in regards to what should happen, then, planning has the right information on that end of it that they can put into, into their ordinances or their policies that are reflective of what this board's expertise is in regards to that. I'll have to look through it a little bit more, and I can go through it and sort of see sort of what falls where. But my initial review would be the majority of it should be a conversation with planning and that. I would be concerned with having to have people come here and then go to planning. And because now, right now, we're overburdening that group, whereas I think if they're going to planning, that's where it all is, right? That's where it should live there, with the expertise coming from this side. My thoughts, I think I talk for Brian as well in our conversations, but I think that's sort of the angle that I think is where a lot of this should go, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to stop development, you don't want to stop all these things and we are already bureaucratic just because we have to be, and because of trying to be as transparent as possible, right? We already are. We don't pivot on a dime. We take long, curvy roads to get to where we want to go. And so to add in another piece to that and another meeting, and then our meeting is after that meeting, and then so they can't close on that meeting, they got to go to ours, and then it's another month to that, I think becomes problematic on that side of it. So,
We're gonna have to vote to extend.
no, we don't have to for them.
Oh, we don't,
We don't have that policy.
okay.
So that's sort of my review. I understand where the commissioner's going with it. It's just how does that kind of thing happen to make it so that it's clear and concise and we're not making people go through multiple things that they shouldn't really have to go through. And I think it's a question that, we can talk to planning about and say, we would like to have a ex officio member there if somebody wants to take that. But, we're all busy. All of you are busy, right? You have jobs and other things that you have to do at night and whenever. To try to put that into your schedule may be difficult. And maybe now we have it, and 2 years from now, somebody changes off the board, now you don't have it anymore. It gets a little difficult at that end of it.
Well, lots of great discussion points. I motion that we file that agenda item.
You don't want to leave it in old business in case it comes up, or?
I think there's a significant amount in there that overlaps with tree ordinance discussion. And I have it as a task item to incorporate the recommendations in the policy memo that Joe created into our tree ordinance document. So that it's kind of like one thing that we'd tackle next meeting.
Okay.
Does that seem fair? That's my kind of reading through the recommendations. A lot of it just overlaps with to address that as tree ordinances.
Yeah, I'm
part of the
satisfied to
tree
get
ordinance
this
discussion.
introduced, yes.
Okay. Can I get a second?
Seconded.
Commissioner Alton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes. We have one item in tabled business, which I would motion to not discuss but leave there.
We don't need to do anything with it.
And we don't have to.
But the only time you have to talk about that is if you want to move it out to old business.
Now would be the time to move it.
Now would
is
be
your
the time
point,
to
yeah.
move it out, if you want to move it out.
Does anybody want to move it out? I don't think so.
I would love to talk about it.
Okay,
I'm
so,
just kidding.
oh,
Well, wait, I have a question.
can't pick up sarcasm anymore.
Does that include discussion of at-large?
Yeah, so the tabled business is a request to discuss current board organization, which in other words would be to discuss open positions, creating at-large positions.
Did
Yeah.
did we vote to create an at-large position?
My recollection of that discussion was that it would require an ordinance change of the commission. So there's an ordinance that has created our commission, and we have to change that in order to create those positions. And I think we should, but maybe we should do it at the same, because it's the tree it's the tree ordinance.
It's not the
Um,
tree ordinance, it's the commission ordinance. But
Commission
it should be
ordinance.
discussed as part of the tree ordinance.
Yeah, they're like linked tightly.
So we could
so
discuss
two
it
different-
as part of the tree ordinance discussion in general.
And I remember
Right.
like city
Okay.
council had no appetite for bringing it up or something? Like it
Yeah,
wasn't
where
on
were
their
you with it,
agenda?
Rob? I know, my recollection was like there was a lot going on, so it was not high on the priority list to bring it up.
That's pretty much where it is right now
Yeah.
as well. And then when we started talking about the ordinance stuff, I held back on it so that we could sort of bring one larger overall piece of the ordinance forward to make it, sort of together. It's two separate ordinances,
Yeah.
but we would bring them as parallel courses at that point when we're ready to look to move something forward.
Because also, so maybe I'll put it on the agenda for next time, is we should talk about tree and commission ordinances. So talk about both of those ordinances, with the goal being next year to advance both of those. And maybe one, like we can present both, but like one moves forward faster potentially. Like I don't see the commission ordinance being as many updates. But I'll put a draft together of that ordinance so we can talk about updates. Because one update is like the positions, but I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, another would be like there's goals of the commissions. This commission, do we want to update that? Or like activities of the commission? So there might be other updates to consider. Okay, so,
The only other item are the dates of the next meetings.
yep. And we don't have to do anything motion-wise for
No,
that.
you just need to,
Um,
if there are any problems with those, if you can let me know.
Yeah,
If I
everybody
need to
take
make
out your,
any changes to those dates.
They look like they work for me.
yeah, I'm gonna double check.
I'll have to look at my calendar.
Breaking out the calendar. Are those, like, we've never discussed those before, right?
Nope.
These are fresh, brand new.
They're fresh, brand new.
Yeah, okay. So I'll give everybody a minute to pull out their calendars if they can.
Sorry,
Maybe people can't.
I have a paper calendar and I left it at home.
Okay.
'Cause yeah, I forgot. I brought my current one, not my next year.
Love me. Okay, so we can't really, yeah, I'll just see if there's any like real,
So I tried to stick with that first sort of Wednesday of the month. The March one I'm not here for, so I just pushed it 1 week. And then there's a third, like, I think there may be 1 or 2 Thursdays in there.
I won't be able to do March 11th. But all the other ones currently work for me, so. But, yeah, everybody take a look. We can talk about that next time. And
Yep.
otherwise, I motion to adjourn, and I'll get my little gavel.
All right? No?
Second,
Commissioner Elton,
yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes.
So is there like
Yes.
a beginning to this?